So now we're going to talk about how you would graph a line by hand. So on page 3, under graphing a linear equation, there are two different methods listed. Okay, so in method 1, which is probably the most popular method, okay, you're going to use the slope and y-intercept to graph the line. Okay, so step 1, you need to make sure that the equation of the line is in slope-intercept form. That's y equals mx plus b. Identify the y-intercept and the slope. And then in step 2, you're going to plot the y-intercept because that's one of your points on your line. And then in step 3, you're going to use the slope to determine a second point on the line. And as we've said before, think of the slope as rise over run. Finally, you will draw the line through those 2 points. Okay? In method 2, which is a bit different, you're going to use the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Okay, remember, you only need 2 points to determine a line, so why not have those 2 points be the x-intercept and the y-intercept? Okay, so for this method, in step 1, you're going to let y equal to 0 in your equation and solve for x to find the x-intercept. And then you're going to find the y-intercept in step 2 by letting x equal to 0 and solving for y. And then in step 3, once you've plotted your x-intercept and your y-intercept, you will simply just draw the line through those 2 points. Okay, so like I said, we're about to do some practice with this. Okay, method 1 is definitely the most popular method of graphing a line. Okay, but on occasion, method 2 can be very, very useful for graphing a line. I will show you an instance when this particular method can be helpful. Okay, so let's go to the next page and take a look at example 2. Okay, there's a couple of equations here, and we're going to sketch the graph of each equation. Okay, so in example A, our equation is 1/4 times y is equal to x minus 1. Okay, so the first thing, like I said, when you get to that final exam, you're going to have all kinds of equations. You have to be able to recognize this as a line. Okay, now it's not exactly in y equals mx plus b form, okay, but a big clue here that this is a line is that the highest power of x is the first power. You don't have x squared or x cubed or x to the 4th. You don't have any square roots. It's not a fraction. So a big clue here is that the highest power of x is the first power. Okay, like I said, it's not quite in y equals mx plus b form, but we can make it look like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write down what we have. And if it's in y equals mx plus b form, that means we essentially need to solve for y. Okay, on the left side, we have 1/4 times y. We'd rather just have y by itself, so we need to get rid of the 1/4. The y is being multiplied by 1/4, so what I'm going to do is multiply this side by 4. Okay, 4 times 1/4 is going to give you 1. It will leave you with 1 times y or just y. Okay, now if I multiply the left side by 4, I have to do it to the right side, and the right side has 2 terms, the x and the minus 1. So the 4 is going to have to get distributed to both pieces, so you need to put that in parentheses. So once we simplify this, like I said, 4 times 1/4 will give us 1 times y, which is just y. And then on the right side, we're going to send the 4 through. Okay, so 4 times x is 4x. And then we're going to have minus 1 times 4 is 4. And now our equation is in y equals mx plus b form. Okay, all right. So now that we're dealing with an equation that has, the slope-intercept form, we can go ahead and identify the slope. Okay, the slope is going to be the number in front of x. So it's going to be 4. And then the y-intercept, which we usually refer to as b, that is going to be -4. Okay, all right. So based on these 2 pieces of information, we can graph the line. Okay, we're going to start with the y-intercept. The y-intercept is where the line is going to cross the y-axis. That is happening at -4. Okay, so this point 0, -4 is the first point on the line. Okay, now to get the second point on the line, we just need to apply the slope, do the rise over the run to get a second point. Okay, so I'm going to come up here so I have more room. The slope is 4, and that's what we're trying to use for our rise over run. Okay, when we think of rise over run, that's a fraction, but our m value here is 4. So we can make it a fraction, so that way we can specifically say what the rise is and what the run is. Okay, so you can make anything a fraction by putting it over 1. Okay, 4 divided by 1 is 4. So notice the slope is positive. So when you draw this line, it had better be rising as you go from left to right, or you've done something wrong. Okay. All right. So our rise is +4 and our run is +1. So that tells us how to move from the y-intercept. From this point, we are going to rise 4 or go up 4 and then run +1. If the run is positive, that means go to the right. Okay, so from here, we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and then right 1. That brings us to the point 1, 0. Okay, and at this point, we can just draw the line through these 2 points and be done. Okay, if you want to make your line more accurate, just keep generating points. Okay, but again, you only need 2 points to determine the line. But if I kept going here, now from the point 1, 0, I'm going to again go up 1, 2, 3, 4, right 1. Okay, so 2, 4 is also on this line, and then up 4, right 1. Okay, 3, 8 is on the line. Okay, remember, we've been going up 4, right 1. If you did the opposite thing, instead went down 4, left 1, that's going to generate points on the line this way. Okay, so from 0, -4, from the y-intercept, we could go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, left 1. Okay, that puts -1, -8 on the line. Okay, so doing it this way, just getting some extra points makes your line a little more accurate. Okay, so now we're just going to connect these dots. Okay, and make sure, because your line continues indefinitely in both directions, that you put arrowheads on the endpoints here. Okay, so this is your line. Okay, all right, let's move on to the line in part B here. Okay, the equation is 3 times x plus 4 times y is equal to 12. Okay, this is the general format of a line. This is ax plus by is equal to c. Okay, so immediately you should be able to recognize that this equation, if it were graphed out, it's going to be a line. Okay, so we're going to graph this out. Okay, so we need the slope and the y-intercept. And remember, this equation is in general form. It's not in slope-intercept form. So we cannot identify the m and the b until we convert this equation to y equals mx plus b form. Okay, so we got to do that first. Okay, all right, so I'm going to come out here. I'm going to rewrite the equation. 3x plus 4 times y is equal to 12. We're basically solving for y, so we need to get the y by itself. So we need to first isolate the 4y. Okay, so on the left side, the 3x is positive, so that means we're essentially adding it on the left side. So we're going to undo that by subtracting 3x from the left side. If we do that to the left side, we have to do it to the right side. Okay, so on the left side, the 3x and the -3x, those guys will cancel and leave us with 4y. Okay, I'm going to write the x part first because remember, I'm trying to make it look like y equals mx plus b. So we're going to have -3x, and then the 12 is positive, so it's going to be plus 12. Okay, lastly, if I want y by itself, I need to get rid of the 4. Y is currently multiplied by 4, so the opposite of that is dividing by 4. Okay, so if we divide the left side by 4, we have to divide the right side by 4. Okay, now here comes a part where students can easily make a mistake. When you divide this right side by 4, everything gets divided by 4. Okay, you can't just divide the -3 by 4 or just divide the 12 by 4. Everything gets divided by 4, okay? And so now on the left side, the 4's will cancel. You're going to get y equals negative 3/4 times x plus 12 divided by 4 is 3. Okay, now the equation is in y equals mx plus b form. Okay, we can identify the slope. It's the number in front of x. It's negative 3/4, and then the b value is going to be 3. Okay, so let's go graph the line. Okay, we are first going to plot the y-intercept. Okay, the y-intercept is 3, so the line is going to cross the y-axis at y equals 3. Okay, so right there. And now we just have to use the slope, apply the slope to get a second point on the line. All right, so the rise over run is equal to negative 3/4. We have a negative slope, so when you draw this line, it had better be falling as you go from left to right. Okay, so you need to attach the negative sign to either the numerator or to the denominator, not to both. So I'll put the negative sign with the 3 and make the 4 positive. Negative divided by positive is negative, so your slope is still negative. So we are going to rise negative 3, so that means we're going to go down 3, and then we're going to run positive 4. Okay, so we're going to go to the right 4. Okay, so from this point, okay, from this intercept, we are going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and then right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that brings us to 4, 0. Okay, like I said, you can keep going to generate points. Okay, so from this x-intercept, we're going to go down. We're going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That brings us to 8, negative 3. Okay. If you did the opposite direction, see where my cursor is? If you're trying to generate points out here, you can think of it as having positive rise and negative run. Okay, 3 divided by negative 4 is still negative 3/4. Okay, so from this y-intercept, you could alternatively go up 3, left 4. Okay, so that'll bring you to negative 4, 6. You could do it again, up 3, left 4. Okay, that brings you right here. Okay, actually, let me make sure I counted that right. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Okay, so that's how you can generate points in either direction. Okay, all we need to do now is connect these dots with a line. Okay, again, make sure you put the arrowheads on the endpoints because this line is going to continue indefinitely in both directions. Okay, so there is your line. Okay, when your equation is given to you in general form, this was given to us in general form. Okay, this could have been a really great instance to use method 2 to graph the line, meaning find the intercepts. Okay, so I'm going to come over here. Okay, I'm going to label this method 1. And then I'm going to go over here to the sides and show you how quickly method 2 using the intercepts could have gotten us the same line. Okay, so go back to the original equation, the ax plus by equals c. Okay, and we're going to find the y-intercept by setting x equal to 0. Okay, so if we do that, and I'm looking at the original equation, we're going to get 3 times 0 plus 4 times y is equal to 12. Okay, that tells us 3 times 0 is 0, so that's going to leave us with 4y is equal to 12. Divide both sides by 4, you're going to get y equals 3. So 0, 3 would be a point on your line, and it's right there. Here's the y-intercept. Okay, you could have, that's 1 point on the line. To get the other point, you could have found the x-intercept by setting y equal to 0. Okay, so go back to your general form. Okay, plug in y equals 0. You're going to get 3 times x plus 4 times 0 is equal to 12. Okay, that is going to tell us that 3x plus 0 is equal to 12. So 3x equals 12. Divide both sides by 3. You get that the x-intercept is 4. That's the point 4, 0. Okay, and that is the point in our picture right here. Okay, so this is another method we could have used to graph this line. If the equation is given to you in general form, ax plus by is equal to c, method 2 is probably easier to use. You just need to find the x-intercept by setting y equal to 0, and then find the y-intercept by setting x equal to 0, and then draw the line between those two x-intercepts, or sorry, between those two intercepts.